Thank you, Lisa, and to the Berlin Democratic Town Committee for hosting tonight's event. Before I begin, I just want to wish my sincere condolences to anybody who's lost a loved one, a friend, a family. These have been trying times for everyone, and I just want to convey my sincere condolences. I'm Ceylan Rowe. I live in Northborough. I live with my husband and 2 children. I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old in the public school system here in Northborough. Prior to launching my campaign full-time, I had a socially responsible business. I've been a commissioner for the Metro West Commission on the Status of Women, advocating for legislation related to women and girls for many years. That's why I've been endorsed by Senator Jamie Eldridge and Representative Jack Lewis. I have my degree in political science and international affairs. I'm finishing up my MBA at Babson. I have been an active member in the Northborough community for many years. I am part of the Northborough Democratic Town Committee. I am part of the Northborough Junior Women's Club, and it's a great organization that does lots of charitable work locally and globally. I also was a Girl Scout leader for my daughter's troop for many years, and my son is in middle school now, and I'm part of the PTO there. I launched my campaign back in November, so I've been campaigning for 7 months now, and I launched it for 4 reasons. 1, we deserve a full-time legislator who works full-time on our behalf, and I commit to being a full-time legislator. 2, we deserve a legislator that's transparent how they're voting in their committees, and I signed the transparency pledge back in November. We deserve a legislator that's accessible. Over the past 7 months, I have tried to make myself accessible even during COVID. So I launched meet and greets. I launched a meet and greet at the Village Cafe in Berlin. I launched it in different towns at the coffee shops. I visited 19 Carter a few times. I visited senior centers. I've had the opportunity to visit the Lancaster Community Center. And it's a wonderful program that they have over there. Alex, you do a great job there. And I visited just the Zoom calls. Well, during the COVID times, I've attended Zoom calls for the Berlin select board meetings and economic development committee meetings. I have created a YouTube channel, so I've been doing interviews with community members or people who are passionate about issues that impact our community. So you're welcome to check it out at Ceylan Rowe for Rep. I have done Facebook Lives. I'm trying to get myself out there, and this is really a preview to the type of legislator that I want to be, accessible. And the 4th reason why I launched is because we deserve a passionate champion fighting for the issues that directly impact us. We deserve a champion fighting for 100% renewable energy here in Massachusetts. We deserve somebody championing to reduce our plastic waste, to have more electric cars and more solar panels accessible to everybody. I have an electric car and solar panels. I hear throughout the district that a lot of people want to have it, and it needs to be accessible and affordable. We deserve a champion fighting for universal health care. In Massachusetts, I can't tell you how many people I've heard and listened to who pay hundreds and thousands of dollars on co-pays per month. Medical bankruptcy is a huge issue in our country. 500,000 people go bankrupt per year. It's just unnecessary. Everybody deserves access to health care. We deserve a champion fighting for ranked choice voting, which would be incredibly helpful right now in this election. We deserve a champion fighting for gender equity and the Roe Act, and women should have autonomy over their own bodies. We deserve a champion fighting for immigrants and refugees. 1 out of 10 people in our district is actually an immigrant or a refugee. I'm a child of immigrants. I am incredibly disappointed that the Public Safety Committee did not vote on the Safe Communities Act this week, and they extended the deadline to July. We need a champion fighting for our issues. And it would be a huge honor to be a full-time champion for our district.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Ceylan? Barbara?
Yes, I'd like to know how she feels about healthcare and uh, uh, in particular Medicare for all?
I'm a supporter of it. As I mentioned before, medical bankruptcy is a huge issue for people. I've talked to parents who have children with diabetes who pay hundreds and hundreds and if not thousands of dollars per month just to keep their child alive. We don't have to live this way. I actually have family members that live overseas. And actually one of my friends, their child had cancer, and back where they live, it's completely free to care for your child. There's zero expense, zero copays whatsoever. And I called Boston Children's Hospital to just see how much it would be for somebody who's uninsured to give treatment to their children. $1 million. If you don't have insurance, it's $1 million to try to save your child's life. We do not have to live this way. So yes, I'm in support of it.
James, are you still out there?
Hi, Ceylan.
James.
I've been asking this of every candidate in Central Mass. In light of everything that's been happening in the past couple weeks, what does racial justice mean to you going forward?
Racial justice, it means that regardless of your skin color, that everybody has equal opportunity to wealth, to happiness, to safety. That's what it means to me, racial justice. Did you want to also talk about social justice?
That's part of it.
That's part of it.
It's specifically talking about our criminal justice system and what we've seen in Minneapolis most recently.
So with the commission, we actually had the opportunity to go and visit a women's prison facility. And President Senate Karen Spilka was there, Representative Jack Lewis was there, and once again, the 12th Worcester District, our current legislator or their staff was not present at this. But we've been actually, as a commission, been working on this even during the COVID times. And when I went to the prison facility, I was shocked for so many different reasons, right? Obviously, there's a huge racial discrepancy, right? There's significantly more, it's populated by the Black women versus white women. And it's not actually, there's one class that the women could take. It was from a private university. And then the question I had was, in Massachusetts, we have the best private and public universities. Why can't we have more education for the women over there? 2, mental health services. I'm deeply concerned that we don't have enough mental health services for those who are incarcerated. 3, there was programs like cosmetology, and it didn't make any sense because I was talking to a woman who was formerly incarcerated at MCI Framingham, and she said that women can't actually get jobs with cosmetology because people don't want to hire somebody who was a convicted felon and give them scissors. And so why are we having these programs? It doesn't make any sense in these systems. And then we release these women. And when they're released, they get $50. So they don't get housing, they don't get transportation. They literally walk out of the prison with $50 and they have to fend for themselves. And then where do they go? And so the question is, what more can we possibly do? And there's so much more that we have to do. It's heartbreaking. And so more needs to be done. We need a champion fighting for this at all levels, right? It's our community problem. It's a community, a call to action to do more. In our schools, I every month get a flyer from the librarian that says, can parents pay for these books? And so they always get new books. And so what I'm gonna do is actually make sure that the books that are listed talk about racial injustice and social injustice, because we have to talk about this with our children. We have to talk to them that their friends that come over, have play dates, are gonna grow up and be treated differently. And as a Muslim American woman, I blend in very easily. My skin color is very light. I can't tell you how many times, as soon as I tell somebody that I'm Muslim American, their face goes white. I kid you not. I had a grown man, a Democrat. I was at a Democratic event, run away from me, physically run away from me. And it's heartbreaking. Everybody should love who they are. Everybody should love their skin color. Everybody should be proud of who they are, be proud of how they pray. Everybody has that right. My son's name is Ibrahim. And right now, he's 12 years old. He's super cute. And I wonder, at some point when he's older and he's at the airport, how much trouble is he going to have every single time he wants to fly because of his name? And so it's heartbreaking, and more needs to be done. And we need to have faith, and we need to elect people who are people of color so that they can advocate and share their stories and amplify the problems that that communities of color are having. Was that okay?
That's perfect.
Okay. Does anybody else have a question, or you want me to start going down my list? Okay. I'm going to pivot. We have a lot of problems with transportation in our area. We have highways that are packed. We have a problem with our public transportation in this area. What are your thoughts on solving this problem?
Huge problem. My husband actually takes the commuter rail. So it costs $6, which is completely unaffordable per day to just park there. And if you're lucky enough to have a parking spot. Our district doesn't actually have, as you all know, doesn't have a direct commuter rail access. So the next town over, there's a representative who I have the utmost respect for, goes to meetings. I physically see her on social media going to meetings and advocating for a shuttle service for her town to go from the town to the commuter rail. And they received $200,000. We're not receiving $200,000 because we don't have somebody championing for us at these meetings. We absolutely need to invest in our public transportation. Our commuter rail system is just deplorable. I actually took my Girl Scouts a few years ago on the commuter rail. They were, I think, first grade, second grade. And this was the first time that a lot of them actually been on the commuter rail. Very first time, and all of them were disgusted by it. And if like a first and second grader could see how horrible it is, we obviously need to do more. People also pay hundreds of dollars per month to ride the commuter rail, and it's not reliable, it's not dependable. So we need more funding for our commuter rail. We need newer systems, new commuter rail systems, and we also need the parking to be affordable and accessible, and shuttle services. So electric shuttle services from our towns to the commuter rail stations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you discuss some ideas you might have for economic growth and equality in our district?
Say that again?
Can you discuss some ideas you might have for economic growth and equality in our district?
Yeah, so one example is right now regarding income inequality is 85% of our district has access to broadband, only 85%. So there's still a percentage of children that don't have access, or families that don't have internet. And so when you talk about online learning, well, that's maybe helpful to many families, but all children don't have access to that. And then let's talk about technology and access to technology, right? In our schools and the children, not all children don't have computers. Some families don't, so how are they learning? Let's talk about access to just to housing. Our housing costs are on the rise. More support for our small businesses, right? So in Massachusetts, we actually have the highest LLC fees in the entire country. I talk about this a lot because I'm passionate about this. It's $500. $500 is not a big deal for a pharmaceutical company that wants to come to Massachusetts, but if you are unemployed, and by the way, 25%, as of last week, 25% of Massachusetts people filed for unemployment insurance. If 25% if people are unemployed, I'm a huge supporter of entrepreneurship and self-sufficiency, and so if somebody wants to start their own business who's unemployed right now, they don't have $500. $500 is just not realistic. And so removing the barriers that people are facing, it must be done. So those are some ideas. But I'm eager and happy and willing to listen to more. I know there's a lot more ideas.
All right. We recently passed the red flag bill to limit guns for those who have mental health issues in Massachusetts. What other steps do you feel could be taken to make our school children and people in general safe in regards to gun safety?
Yeah, great question. And I know that that's a huge, there's a lot of young people who are very passionate about this particular issue. I know as a mom who says goodbye to her children in the morning, well, when I did before, prior to COVID-19, I would always just take a moment and just think about the children and the administration, the principals, and wish them a safe day. And absolutely, we need to do more. So I've been actually talking to Moms Demand Action and March for Our Lives, people from members of those groups. So there's a few legislation. One is to prevent illegal trafficking and gun violence. One is to regulate the bulk firearms purchases, which I'm in support of, and then improve the crime gun data reporting and analysis. Those are issues that they are advocating for and that I would support as well.
Let's see. Bob, you had a question about predatory lending?
I did. I could reprise that question.
It's just helpful, I think, to have all of our candidates answer
Sure.
similar questions.
Yeah, it's a tremendous burden on some families, and usually families who don't have the means to hire high-priced legal help to get them out of the hole that the predatory lenders put them in. I'm not sure what legislation is pending currently, but what would you do to insulate Massachusetts residents from the ravages imposed by predatory lenders?
I'm deeply worried about this, especially now, right? When so many people have lost their jobs. I do know that Representative Mike Connolly passed a bill legislation that would halt evictions for and foreclosures for COVID-19. I would love to see that extended. I also, there is a Massachusetts Alliance Against Predatory Lending group that I would love to actually sit and talk with them. You're actually the first person who's brought this up. And so I would love to learn more about the bills that they're advocating for.
Thank you.
Okay, right now, especially during COVID-19, voting reform has come up quite a lot because, you know, going to the polls is not safe. What are your feelings about voting reform and options like ranked choice voting?
I'm in favor of ranked choice voting. Absolutely, it would be very helpful during this election right now, the primary, right? Yes, we absolutely should have same day registration. I'm in favor of the Power Act that would allow young people, 16, 17-year-olds, to be able to vote in municipal elections. More absolutely needs to be done. I'm actually quite disappointed with how things are going with the, for the primary first election. It needs to be accessible to everybody, right? We should actually have the ballots mailed to everybody to ensure that everybody's safe, to ensure the voters are safe and those that are working at the polls. People should be mailing in their ballots, and it should be accessible to everybody. And everybody has the right to participate in our democracy, right? And we should remove the barriers to that.
Okay. What would you consider some of the top priorities for our district?
Based on what I've heard, definitely transportation, definitely more action, progressive action on climate change, more funding for our education and special education. Healthcare. People are very concerned about healthcare. Gender equity. I think all of these are priorities. I don't want to leave anybody behind. I don't want to discriminate against any issue. They all deserve championing.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Because she's whipped through mine. No? Only 2 of my committee members are on here. We are taping though, so everybody else will be able to see it. Let's see. Do you have anything else that you would like to tell us before I sort of open it up?
Did you
My webs. I'm sorry. Did somebody say something?
Did you have a question, Bob?
Yeah, I was about to say, did you address affordable housing?
Did I address it? I have not addressed it. Affordable housing. Yes. The cost of living in central Massachusetts is incredibly expensive, right? And if people are not, if cost of living is rising, how are people going to afford these homes? We have to address it. We have to have far more progressive policies and a champion at the State House. I am very worried about how many people are losing their homes. And it has to be, I look forward to learning more and hearing more from current legislators and what they're championing, and see what more can be done.
Thank you.
Nobody should suffer. I mean, I'm running for office because I'm tired of people suffering, right? Everybody, regardless of who you are, your race, your religion, whatever, I mean, everybody deserves a life where they have a home, they feel safe, they have a work, they have income, they have education if they want it. We all should have equal access to all of that. And how can we collectively remove the barriers of everybody having access to that? And so we deserve somebody fighting for those, to remove those barriers.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I think what I'll do now is, I don't know if any of the other candidates who are on here want to do a quick speak. Paul, do you want to speak? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have Paul speak, and Kaja if she's still here, and I'm not sure who else is on here, but I'm going to put this out. It's being recorded, so we'll give you guys an opportunity to chat too for a couple minutes.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Good night, Ceylan.
Bye. And if you wanted more information about me, just go to roweforrep.com, and I'm all over social media at Rowe for Rep.